What's the story, Morning Glory? What is the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiance Before the 90 Days, Season 6, Episode 11, Saint Elmo's Fire. Let's get started with Christian and Cleo. So, last week's episode, there was some type of an issue with exactly what happened between Cleo and Christian as far as their intimacy. Cleo had no problem talking about the fact that her and Christian consummated their relationship, that they were definitely intimate, and she shared that with her best friend Jane, and she shared it on camera. Whereas Christian, on the other hand, said on camera that they did not have sex, that it was just cuddling and making out, and that was it. So evidently, Christian had texted Cleo asking Cleo, did she talk about on camera the fact that they were intimate? And Cleo was like, yeah, for sure I did. No big deal. And Christian felt some kind of way about it. He let her know that he really wasn't expecting her to talk about it on camera. And he did it under the guise of he wanted to protect Cleo. Didn't make any sense whatsoever. So Cleo kind of took this as, well, he doesn't want us to talk about it on camera, so he must be ashamed of what we did. She confides this to her best friend Jane, and she asks her friend Jane if she can go back to the Airbnb with her to confront Christian on, like, why are you now saying that you didn't want us to talk about this in public, or you didn't want us to talk about this on camera? So that's where we're at now. So Cleo says that her and Christian had agreed to talk about their intimacy, but now Christian is denying that it even happened. So Cleo and her best friend Jane, they finally arrive at the Airbnb. Christian is there. Cleo calls them down into the living room for them to have a discussion about it. And Cleo wants to know why Christian lied about the fact that they had sex. Why is he now saying that didn't even happen? So Christian says that he wasn't sure if Cleo was comfortable to talk about it. And Cleo says that she has never given him the impression that she was not comfortable about it. She never said anything. She never indicated that she would not be comfortable talking about it on camera. Now, they don't use the word on camera when they're conversing, but I'm pretty sure that this is what it's all implying, that it's one thing for them to talk about it in private, but it's another thing for them to talk about it on camera on this show. So she says that I never gave you the impression that I was not comfortable talking about it, or that I wouldn't talk about it. So Christian all of a sudden got very defensive, and he asked Jane to leave them so they can talk about this in private. So I'm like, okay, so fine. He asked Jane, because he said that he felt grouped up on, like they were, I don't know, coming together against him or something. I don't know what he was talking about feeling grouped up on, because Jane hadn't even said a word. Jane just sat there very quietly and patiently drinking her cup of tea. So I don't know why he felt the need for Jane to leave the room, but you're going to have a whole entire camera crew stay there. So Christian says that over the phone, when he was discussing this with Cleo, he said that Cleo was gaslighting him and that Cleo had called him a psychopath. And Cleo said, I did not call you a psychopath. I said that you had psychopathic behavior because you're acting like two completely different people. On the one hand, they shared this really intimate moment and it seemed like they enjoyed each other. And then on the other hand, he's talking about how he doesn't want her to talk about this in public. So Cleo says, you had second thoughts about me telling everybody that we have been intimate. And Christian says, yes, that's true. He did have second thoughts about sharing it. So Christian claims that he has no issues with people knowing. He says, like, for a brief second, he thought about, what would his family think? But that dissipated and he was no longer concerned about what his family would say or what they would think or anything. So Christian claims that he has no issues with anybody knowing. Cleo says that she is willing to give Christian the benefit of the doubt. So he asks her for a hug. They hug it out. And Christian says that it was a miscommunication between the two of them. Now, I personally do not believe that it was a miscommunication. Cleo to me does not sound like someone who will miscommunicate her feelings, her thoughts, or anything like that. Cleo seems like she's outspoken, that she knows exactly what she wants to say. She says what she means and she means what she says. If anybody was miscommunicating anything, it was Christian. He was the one that was miscommunicating himself. He probably led her to believe that he was comfortable enough to talk about it on camera. Then he had a change of heart, and then he tried to text her or call her, thinking that maybe he can catch her before she revealed it so that he can convince her to not talk about it, but she already had. And I think that's where this all stems from. He is, I don't know if Christian is ashamed of the fact that he's with it. Not ashamed. Okay, how do I say this? Christian to me comes off like maybe deep down inside he is interested in Cleo. He's okay with her being like deep down inside he's okay with being with her, but he's so worried about how people are going to react to him being with a pre-op transgendered female. I think that's what his issue is, because on camera he does put up this front that he's okay with her. He's okay with this whole situation. He wants the relationship to continue. He doesn't want to lose her. But then covertly, he's texting her and calling her and telling her not to talk about things on camera. And himself, he's denying what happened between them. I feel like deep down inside, he probably wants to pursue this. I just don't know if he wants to pursue this on an emotional level. I think maybe physically, he's very much interested in Cleo. I just don't know if he's interested in her emotionally, because when they're having their discussion, he kind of tried to flip the script and say, well, it seems like, you're giving me doubts about whether or not you want to be in this relationship. Or he said something to that effect where he wanted to turn it on her. Like, if this relationship doesn't continue, it's going to be because of her doing, not his. And Cleo has been absolutely consistent since day one. She's been consistent with what she's expecting from him, what she wants from him. He's the one that's been kind of like giving all kinds of mixed signals. I really do think that Christian is, I think Cleo is a curiosity for Christian. I don't think he really truly is going to go through this K1 visa process, because let's not forget, we are watching 90 Day Fiance, where people are trying to figure out whether or not they want to even apply for the K1 visa. So I don't think that this has anything to do with him wanting to bring Cleo to the United States, to marry Cleo and live happily ever after with Cleo. I think that for whatever reason, there's some type of curiosity there. I don't think he ever considered dating a transgendered woman ever before until Cleo reached out to him, or he reached out to Cleo, however way it happened. And I think that's when his curiosity was piqued. And so he had an opportunity to see what it was like to be with a transgendered woman. And I think that, that Cleo is the one that's into this relationship, emotionally and mentally and physically. And she wants, the full relationship experience with Christian. But I don't think Christian feels the same way. So when Cleo walks her friend Jane out to her car, her friend Jane tells her that she does not get a good feeling about Christian at all. Jane did not like how defensive Christian acted, how he tried to turn the table and put the blame on Cleo for miscommunicating or misunderstanding. And Jane was like, I just want you to keep your eyes and ears open and, don't build this relationship on sandcastles, or whatever she said. So Jane says that, it seems like with Christian, he's more concerned about proving himself right, that he wasn't trying to hide the fact that they were intimate, which he definitely was, but he wants to change the narrative and make it seem like, no, I'm not trying to hide that. I wasn't trying to hide that. I was concerned for you because I thought you were uncomfortable about revealing it to everybody that we were intimate. So I was just looking out for you. No, you're looking out for yourself because you were worried how it was going to come across to everybody, including your family. So I would prefer that Cleo cut her losses with Christian, but she's not. She's in too deep emotionally. I don't know why. I don't know exactly what she sees in Christian. And the fact that he was willing to hide the fact that they were intimate, that should be a glaring red flag for Cleo. But, she says that she wants to give him the benefit of the doubt and she wants to continue to pursue this relationship. And, she drug her friend into this. And now her friend is kind of like, well, I want to be there to support you, but I don't really think that this guy is a good match for you, but I want to support you in whatever you decide to do. And by the way, Christian also had asked Jane if they can start all over. Let's just try to start all over. Let's do a do-over and, we'll get together one day and go out for drinks or whatever. And I can tell that Jane is like, whatever. But I'm really disappointed that, Cleo is not seeing that Christian is just not genuine. The possibility that he's not genuine about her, she just doesn't want to believe that. And she just wants to go on and think that there's a possibility of their relationship working out. And I just don't see it happening. If he does decide to apply for the K1 visa, I will be shocked. I will be extremely shocked. Moving on to Statler and Dempsey. So Statler has surprised Dempsey with a scavenger hunt. It is Valentine's Day. So Dempsey comes home from work and she sees all these notes and these little clues everywhere. So Dempsey was actually surprised that, Statler did this for her to celebrate Valentine's Day. And she's also like nervous about where this is leading to. And she hopes that at the end of the scavenger hunt, it's not a proposal waiting for her because she does want them to kind of slow things down a little bit. So when they started off, I guess it was around evening time, but it was still daylight outside. By the time the scavenger hunt ended, y'all, it was nighttime. And I was like, okay, how long did the scavenger hunt last? Or was it just that it was so close to, evening that, how it is. Anyways, it was nighttime. So Statler says, so it ends with them at the campfire and Statler says that she is in love with Dempsey, and Dempsey says, I feel the same way. But when Dempsey said it, I kind of didn't buy it. It didn't seem genuine to me. It seems like, you know how it is. Maybe you feel the pressure when someone says, I love you. You kind of feel the pressure of saying it back because there's going to be that awkward silence. So you just need to fill up the silence and get on with it. So she said that she loved her back. And Statler says, well, since we love each other, then we might as well move in together because my lease is going to be up. I don't plan on renewing it. And so I would like to stay here and live with you. And Dempsey was like, I think we should take things kind of slow. Maybe if you wanted to stay in England, that's fine. That's wonderful. But you can probably stay in your own place and we'll just see each other and we'll just date that way. And Statler was like really, truly, genuinely confused. She was like, I don't understand. If we love each other, why don't we just live together? Like, why do we have to live separately? We love each other. We want to be with one another. I'm not understanding this at all. Statler, the fact that this relationship has moved too quickly has just not dawned on Statler at all whatsoever. So when they said that they loved each other, I'm like thinking to myself, okay, I don't think that Dempsey is in love with Statler. I don't think so. And I don't think that Statler is in love with Dempsey. I think that Statler is in love with the idea of being in love with someone because she's just so desperate to have a warm body next to her. She really doesn't care who that warm body is. So I think that Statler, it just has this need to be loved and to have someone care for her. And so if anyone gives any kind of indication that they're interested in her or that they care for her, she takes that and she runs with it. I don't think that she genuinely is in love with Dempsey and vice versa. So Dempsey tries to explain to Statler, like, we really don't know each other that well. We have a lot to learn about one another. So we're not ready to take that step yet. And then Dempsey says, I didn't even know that you were a cheater until a couple of days ago when you revealed that to me. And I think she even says something like, I don't know exactly I don't know how the ex-girlfriend topic came up. I don't know if it was Dempsey that brought it up, but I think she said something like, are you even talking to your ex? Do y'all even communicate? And Statler admitted that yes, about a month ago she did communicate with her ex, and that her ex had even volunteered to pick her up from the airport because we know Dempsey was still out of the country at that time, that she even had volunteered to pick her up from the airport, and that she wanted to spend. Wait a minute. I don't think. No. Statler really thought that Dempsey was going to be at the airport. So I don't know why the ex. Because Statler didn't know that Dempsey wasn't going to be at the airport until she had actually arrived in England. I think that's when she found out. I'm not really sure. I'm confused now. But anyway, why would the ex even bother to pick her from the airport if y'all are broken up now? And Statler is in the UK to meet a completely different woman, to meet her current girlfriend. Like, why would the ex even volunteer that unless, So she tells Dempsey, yeah, she wanted to pick me from the airport. She wanted to spend the night with me in a hotel. And Dempsey's like, excuse me, what? What? I didn't know any of this was happening. I don't know why this would even be a conversation between you and your ex. And now you're talking about you want us to move in together? Hell to the no. That's not going to be happening. So, I'm just like, I can't even believe that Statler would even entertain such a conversation with her ex. I'm very confused now. That's what tells me that Statler is not experiencing love with Dempsey. I think that Statler probably felt, I think she probably felt good that her ex was reaching out to her and wanted to see her. I'm glad that she shut that down, but I think that she kind of felt good about it because I think Statler is so desperate to be loved and to be wanted by someone. She doesn't care in what form or how she gets it. So she probably felt, complimented that her ex was still somewhat interested in her, because that should not even have been a conversation. But anyways, it was. I'm going to assume that she declined the invitation, and yeah, I don't know how they're going to move forward now. I don't know what Statler is going to do. Yeah, you can move to England. That's fine, but you're not going to be living with Dempsey. Moving on to, give me a second, y'all. I always do this. Get my stuff. Moving on to Tyree. Okay, so Tyree, as we know, has arrived in Denver, Colorado, and he's in this bar, lounge, restaurant type place because he's about to meet the real Carmela and get to the bottom of this whole catfish thing, because he thinks that maybe Carmela and Christian were in cahoots with one another in trying to catfish him and get money out of him. So Carmela does show up. The real Carmela does show up, and it was kind of strange to me. She had to put on her glasses to actually see him, and then she took her glasses off. And I'm like, girl, if you need to wear your glasses, put your damn glasses on and quit playing, or get some contact lenses. So when Tyree met her, he was really giddy. He was really excited. You could tell that he was kind of impressed by her. And he says that this was the woman that he was in love with for the past 4 years, but not really. He was in love with her image and Christian's personality, but not really this Carmela. So Tyree explains a whole entire catfish ordeal to Carmela, and Carmela really didn't say much. She was just like, oh, wow. And so then Tyree got to the bottom of it, and Tyree was like, do you know Christian? Were you working with Christian and try to bamboozle me and cheat me out of my money and scam me? And Carmela's like, no, I did not do that. I don't know how believable that is, but okay, fine. She says she didn't do it. She doesn't know Christian, and she wasn't involved at all. So Tyree says that talking to her convinces him that it was really a scam and it was Christian working alone. And Carmela even said, oh, I can't believe that someone stole my identity and was using my identity to try to scam people. So Tyree now believes that, okay, Carmela is innocent, had nothing to do with it. It was just this other dude who found her picture and was using her picture. Carmela says that she does feel really bad for Christian. She does feel sorry that this happened to him. And she tells him, but don't let this, get you down. Don't let this get in the way of you trying to pursue real love. And, just keep on putting yourself out there until you find somebody. So Tyree decides to give her her gift, which was the candle. Thank God it was just a candle and not the jewelry that he initially wanted to buy her. And she was like, oh, thank you. She seemed really appreciative of this humongous candle. handle. And Tyree then asks her if she's in a relationship. And I was like, oh, here we go. Because it was very obvious that Tyree was attracted to her. Because, I mean, obviously he is attracted to her because that's why he fell in love with this, imaginary Carmela. He fell in love with the way she looked and all of that. So he is definitely physically attracted to her. But now that he's actually met her, you can kind of tell that he was trying to shoot his shot with her. Because he was, are you seeing anybody? Are you in a relationship? And she said that right now, Carmela is doing Carmela. So she's not really on the market, not because she's with anyone. It's because she's an escort. Okay. She is an escort. So Tyree says to her that he wants to keep in touch. He doesn't want to stop communication. He wants to be able to keep in touch. I don't know how realistic that is, but he seemed very smitten by the real Carmela. And he walks her to her car, which I thought was really sweet of him to do that. And he tells us that meeting Carmela in real life has convinced him that he needs to put himself out there in real life and stop this, online dating thing. And because he's always been afraid to date women like in person and meet women in person and approach women in real life. He's always been really hesitant to do that because probably low self-confidence or whatever. But meeting Carmela and kind of vibing with her, and she was really, really sweet. And hopefully that if he does try to approach someone in the future in real life, that they come off half as sweet as Carmela, as the real Carmela, because she was so gracious and she was really, really sweet. And I don't want him to think that, all women are going to be, this approachable and this nice. Okay. But he says that he's going to put himself out there. And this is the closure that he needed, that he was seeking, that he was looking for. So good for Tyree. I'm glad that he's able to get the closure that he was seeking. And now he can put this whole situation behind him. And unfortunately, we may never see Tyree again, which is fine with me because it just means that, Tyree has moved on with his life and has let go of this whole catfish situation. Moving on now to David and Sheila. So David is asking Sheila with the help of the interpreter, is asking Sheila how she was feeling, with her mother passing away, etc. Sheila says that the way her mother fell was very, very traumatic because I think that she had seen her mother after her mother had fallen. So she says, it was very traumatic for her, and she's still processing her grief. So Sheila says that she feels like she needs to set aside her pain and focus on her relationship with David. And I understand where she's coming from because, the time that he has there is very limited. He's going to be going back to America soon. He came all the way to the Philippines to see her. So she wants to still accommodate him. But then this horrible thing happened unexpectedly. And so, I'm pretty sure that David would understand if she needed time to grieve and couldn't deal with the relationship right now. But she says that she's going to put that aside and focus more on David. So she wants to get her house fixed. And so she asks him, how much money does he make? And I'm thinking to myself, wow, that was very jarring to me for her to ask that because, living in America, that's just not what people talk about. You don't ask people straight up, well, how much money do you make? You try to fish around to kind of get an idea, but you don't just boom, how much money do you make? But in other cultures, I guess it's completely different and it's, probably more acceptable. And so David says he makes about $800 a week. And so to Sheila, she thinks, wow, that's a lot of money because $800 a week can get you a nice condo in the Philippines. $800 a week in America, you're barely making it. Even single, no children, no spouse, you're barely making it. So Sheila thinks that, $800 a week comes out to probably about $3,000 a month. As a single man, I'm thinking that's probably, depending on where you live. If you live in New York, hell no. If you live in some small town in the Midwest or in the South or something, that's more than enough. So Sheila thinks that this is, a lot of money and that he can definitely afford to help her fix her house because her house now is like a danger zone. So they talked to a contractor and it's going to cost about $1,725 to fix fix the house. And David was like, oh, that's a bit of a stretch. I don't know if I can do that. So Sheila tells the contractor that, okay, well, I need to discuss it with my boyfriend. I'll hit you back later. So Sheila, David, and the interpreter go to a sports bar. And first they talk about the women in the sports bar because there's a lot of women there. I think this is like a sports bar where a lot of Westerners frequent, because the way the women were dressed, it was like they were there to pick up Western men. But anywho, so she's asking David, or she tells David, I see that you're looking at the women in here. And David is like, yeah, but I'm not like looking at them. My eyes are staying, face level. I'm not checking them out or anything. So they talk about paying for, the renovation of Sheila's home. And David says that right now he is struggling financially. And David suggests, well, what if we both chip in to get the house fixed? You put in a little and I put in a little. Well, Sheila says she can't afford to do that because she doesn't have a job. She lost her job during the pandemic, and now it's been really hard for her to get work again. So she's not going to be able to do that. So she wants to make it really clear to David that she is not after his money. She wants him to understand that yes, she did ask because, why wouldn't she? But if he can't do it, that's fine. She's not going to pressure him. She's not going to force him. So David then gets the feeling that maybe Sheila's upset. And so he asks her, how are you feeling about that? Are you upset that I'm not able just to give you the money, like just right away like that? And she was like, no, I understand. I totally understand. So then he tells her, well, when I get back to America, let me see what I can do. And I'm going to try to see if I can send you what I can. Now, David and Sheila's relationship to me seems the most genuine out of all of these relationships. And I just think that they're both really sweet. Yes, Sheila does have like a jealousy issue or a jealousy streak, but I don't know. I think that they're kind of sweet together. I think that they do communicate really well. I like how Sheila talks to him. She's very matter of fact with him. And she doesn't play around with her words. She lets him know exactly what's going on in her mind, as does he. And I think this is like a really genuine relationship out of a lot of the relationships that I've seen on 90 Day Fiance. So I'm really rooting for David and Sheila, and I hope that things work out for them. Moving on to Rosvin and Amanda. If nothing else, Rosvin and Amanda are very photogenic. When even in their promo pics for the show, they look really good together. They look really good together, but let's just see how they get along. So they finally consummated their relationship, which is really funny with the timing of that. When you think about how everything turned out between them, that this is when they decide. I mean, it's just the timing of it all was just really weird to me, that they consummate their relationship, but then they hit, some bumps in the road later. So I wonder if it was because of Rosvin's friend Diana saying that the relationship was toxic and basically saying that Amanda was not good for Rosvin. I wonder if she did that, if she went ahead and consummated the relationship and, slept with him because she kind of was like, well, if Diana is telling me that, if Diana is telling me that we're toxic and not good for one another, what the hell is she telling Rosvin? And so maybe she felt like, okay, she's going to go ahead as a last ditch effort to convince Rosvin that she's really into him. She decided to go ahead and sleep with him because all of a sudden, because she was hesitating for so long, and all of a sudden now she decided just to go for it. So they consummate their relationship, and Rosvin said that it made them feel more connected because Amanda is always so distant. Well, hopefully you're not always connected just during sex. That you can also be connected, during other times in your relationship. So Rosvin tells her that he postponed his music video shoot because he wants to spend more time with Amanda. Now that's money for him, I'm assuming, for him to do this video. So for him to postpone that in order to spend more time with her, I kind of think that said a lot on his behalf. So they visit Dracula's castle. They do the little tour of Dracula's castle. And this is when we find out that Rosvin got approved for his tourist visa. So now Amanda says she's not so sure about him coming to the U.S. so soon. And Rosvin tells Amanda, well, don't you think it's time for you to tell your children because I'm going to be coming to America soon. Shouldn't your children know exactly what's going on between us? You know, exactly what our relationship is, that we are more than just friends. Because right now the kids think that they're just friends. Maybe the daughter thinks that they're just friends, but her son, which is her youngest child, he knows the what's up. Because remember, before she left for Romania, the son was interrogating his mother, like, where are you going to be sleeping? Where's he going to be sleeping? You're going to be sleeping in the room with them? You're not going to be sleeping in the same bed? The son knows the what's up. So Amanda tells him, well, I'll tell my children whenever they're ready to know. And so Rosalind is like, when will that be? And Amanda's like, I don't know when they're going to be ready to know. I don't know when that's going to be. So Rosalind now is getting frustrated. It's like, okay, now she's playing games. I want to get this show on the road. I want to get things started. I want to come to America to be with her. Not be with her permanently because it's a tourist visa, but I want to come to America, see her family, her kids, and all this and that. I'm ready to go. And she's up here, you know, beating around the bush. I don't know when they're going to be ready to know. Okay, so he's frustrated. Amanda says in her confessional, she says that Rosvin is being too pushy. But I'm thinking, what do you expect him to think? You traveled halfway across the world to be with this man. What is he supposed to think? Because I could have still kept it online. Y'all still could have kept it long distance. You still could have kept it on Instagram, you know, DMing each other. Every single woman that ever gave him the hard eyes did not travel to Romania to see him. It was you that did that. So obviously you're making him think that for her to spend the money, the time, and the energy to travel to Romania, she must really feel something for him. So how is he being too pushy and expecting you to tell your kids about their relationship and his visa has been like, how is he being too pushy? I just don't understand where she was coming from when she said that, because this is a guy that you met on Instagram that you were willing to go travel to Romania to go see and spend 2 weeks with him. You do this for all the men that you give hard eyes to on Instagram, to all the thirst traps that you DM on Instagram. You travel around the world to go be with them. That's why. So this is like so casual and unimportant to you, Amanda. So he's really confused. The next day, Amanda tells the producers that they got into a fight the night before because Amanda had asked him, what is his plan when he arrives in America? And according to Amanda, Rosvin took this as her demanding that, okay, when you get to America, you're going to have to get a job and you're going to have to help me with my kids and help me with my bills. And we're going to go half on everything. So that's how Amanda put it. Like, that's what he thought when I asked him very simply, what are your plans when you get to America? That's not what she meant. She claims that what she meant was she wanted to know, as he's pursuing his modeling acting career, what is he going to do to support himself? Because, you know, she has no intentions of supporting him. So that's what she meant, but it got misunderstood and misconstrued or whatever, and it all went left. So Rasvin says that Amanda was demanding that he provide for her or help her out financially, and that Amanda went as far as to compare him to her deceased husband Jason, because Jason was a provider. And according to Rosvin, Amanda told him that at any time I needed anything, you know, Jason got it for me. That's just what he did. He took care of me. And so Rosvin got the impression that Amanda was expecting him to do the same, to take care of her and her kids and be the provider. And of course, there's a lot of limitations to that when he arrives in America. He can't get a job right away. He's not going to be a citizen right away. So this is going to be a work in process. So I guess, you know, he kind of felt like it wasn't fair that she had such high expectations and wanted him to be just like Jason. So I don't know. Then we see Amanda, she's crying and she's telling us that, you know, she's beginning to have second thoughts about this relationship. She's beginning to wonder if they've moved too fast because she's still grieving her husband and he just got out of a divorce. Well, I don't think that Rosvin has any issues with moving forward. I think that Rosvin is okay with dating Amanda and being with Amanda. I think he's over his divorce. She's obviously is not over Jason. So I don't know. She was trying to hurry up and get into this relationship with this really hot guy, thinking that the chemistry and their attraction for one another would completely help her get over the loss of her husband. But she realized that it wasn't enough for her, whatever they had going on wasn't quite enough for her to get over Jason or to hide her grief about Jason. Whatever she was expecting with Rosalind did not come into fruition. And the wounds are still open. The wounds are still deep. She's still struggling with the death of her husband. She has not gotten over the death of Jason. And the last thing she needed to do was to run across the world to Romania for 2 weeks, leave her children behind, where she really has not dealt with, has not done grieving her husband. And plus the fact that this isn't like a man that you met through, this is a guy that you met on Instagram. He was thirst trapping. You fell for the thirst trap. Then you packed your bags and went to go be with him. This is the relationship started off extremely flimsy. And then you wonder why you're not catching feelings for him when it was completely very physical between the two of you. Anyways, I don't know. We've been saying since day one that she was rushing into this, that this relationship had no sustainability. You met him on Instagram, okay? He was thirst trapping on Instagram. You fell for it. He trapped you in his thirst or whatever he was throwing out there. You rushed over to Romania to be with this hot guy. Then you began like hesitating, moving forward with a relationship. I don't know. I feel like she probably, I don't know what's going on with Amanda. I think that she thought when she got there and she was with him in his presence that the passion, the chemistry, the heat was just gonna, take over everything. And it didn't quite work out like that because, she was so distant and she was so like, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And now she was ready. They went ahead and did the do. And now she's like, oh, he's not the guy for me. Whatever, Amanda. Moving on to Gino and Jasmine. So they're out hiking, having a good time. And this is when Gino decides to call up his cousin Dana so that Dana and Jasmine can have a conversation about Dana's comments online that Jasmine is probably not really, her feelings for Gino are not really genuine. I'm like, why would you choose this moment? There's a beautiful waterfall. You're in this really beautiful area. Why are you choosing this moment to call cousin Dana? But anyway, so that's what they did. So they called cousin Dana. Cousin Dana says, well, the reason why I made that comment was because when we look at your social media, Jasmine, you're getting all of these treatments and you're getting all this plastic surgery. And it seems like you're just, enjoying Gino's money. We don't see any genuine, true love and affection from your part. We know that Gino loves you. We don't doubt Gino's love and affection for you. But we don't really see anything from you. Whenever we see you on Instagram, you're boasting or bragging about, your latest treatment. So that's why we don't believe that you love Gino. And Jasmine tells the cousin, I don't have to prove anything to anybody except Gino. He's the only one that I have to prove my love to. And if he's good with it, I'm good with it. I don't really care what anybody else thinks. So then the cousin says, okay, well, you know what? You're right. This is y'all's relationship. It's got nothing to do with me. It's none of my business. Y'all go ahead and do whatever y'all want to do. So after that, Gino tells Jasmine that, his family is important to him and they're not going to go away and he's not going to cut off communication with them. And he says, when you come to America, I need you to sort of like lessen the negative comments about my family. And Jasmine then says, well, the reason why I lash out and why I'm so negative is because I have a lot of insecurities and I'm trying to deal with that. And then she says to him, if your family ends up hating me, what are you going to do about our relationship? And Gino says, they're not going to hate you. I'll talk to them. And Jasmine says, no, I need to know if your family ends up hating me, are you going to defend me? Basically, are you going to choose me over your family? And of course, Gino couldn't give a straight answer to that. So that's where that goes. So, Jasmine talks about her insecurities and her anxiety, and that's the reason why she's always so mean and crazy, because that's how she deals with it. And Gino needing to choose between Jasmine and his family, I think that at the end of the day, Gino's going to choose Jasmine, because Jasmine can do things for him that his family can't. So I think at the end of the day, he's going to end up choosing Jasmine. So I'm really tired and bored with Gino and Jasmine. I truly, truly am. I need them to hurry up and get to America so we can see how their life is going to be here in the United States. That's the end of my review, y'all. I don't have much else to say. It's almost 40 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate you spending your time with me. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video. And if you like this content, subscribe to my channel. And I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.